If you want to know what's going on in your city council, the person to ask, I believe, is Ann Kobayashi. She's a city councilwoman, and she's also been in the legislature, and she definitely has a handle on what's going on in our community. I want to welcome Ann Kobayashi today to our show.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you. You're the budget chair of 9 members on the city council.
Right, and the budget has been increasing since I first got on the council about 10 years ago.
And you're basically in charge of monitoring. You have the hardest job of all because you have to monitor millions and millions of dollars.
Right, and we don't want to put a burden on our taxpayers, our residents. So it's a matter of balancing and making cuts when we feel it's necessary.
Now, everybody wants something in their district. You have council members that, or 8 other council members that probably are trying to vie for different funding, and then you have the mayor who presents his budget to you and says this is what he wants. So you kind of have to help sort it all out and negotiate and be kind of the queen of negotiations, right?
Yeah, the mayor sent us his budget on March 1st. And then the council then works on the budget, makes cuts, and we have stuff we want to add in too. And then on June 5th, we take the final vote on the budget. And in between, we've been having hearings, and in fact, we have one this week on Thursday. So, we try to keep the process as transparent as possible and involve the public.
I think that's the good thing one of the good things about the city council is that everything you do is on TV. You basically are very open to the public in terms of letting people see the hearings, the negotiations that go on, the testimony.
Right. And we can't caucus, so all of our meetings are public.
By law, by sunshine law. Is it called sunshine law, right?
And I think it's good because then the public gets involved, and we also go to our neighborhood boards and present material there also.
So unlike the legislature, to give people an idea who don't know that much about the government and the way it works, our legislators can meet in private. They could have closed-door executive sessions, and they can also meet over the railing at the Capitol. But at the city council,
you can't do that.
Right.
I can't even go and ask an individual district council member, what's good for your district? I can't do that. We have to do it all in a public meeting, which is okay. It works.
Yeah, good. Well, it seems like it's worked there for a while. So, in terms of the budget, can you give people an idea how big is the budget, and how you have an operation budget, capital improvement budget, and then how has that kind of increased over the years?
Well, we have about a $2 billion operating budget. It's increased because a lot of the salary increases, and just generally all kinds of fees and when we purchase things. And then there's the capital budget, which is money that we borrow to do repair parks and all of that. And however, when we borrow money, of course, there's a debt service, and that gets added to the operating budget. And most cities try to keep their debt service till about between 10 and 15%. And we used to be about 11, 13%, but this year we're up to about 19%.
Wow, that's quite significant.
Service, yes, and that doesn't include any rail borrowing.
So that means, just to give people an example, say I give you $1, then 19 cents of that goes to paying our debt.
Right, and it's growing because there are more needs. The sewers have to be fixed, our wastewater, all of that, and if bonds are floated for rail, then that's going to increase also.
So people, they get aggravated because the city is actually in charge of the things we see and the things that aren't very glamorous, but we need, right? So like the roads, the potholes.
Sewers, which are,
right.
You can't see, but of course you see when there's a sewer main break.
Or you get a bill for your sewers, and it keeps going up and up.
Oh, I feel really, I just don't know how some people are going to make it, because no one's salary goes up 5-10%, and yet the sewer fees have been going up that much, and our poor people on fixed income, their Social Security, their pensions don't go up at all, hardly, 1 to 2% at the most, and yet our sewer fees are going to go up way over 5-10%, water rates are going up and electric rates, and the mayor had proposed a fuel tax of 5%. However, that gets added to like a delivery truck, repair trucks, when they make their deliveries to a store, then the store will then pass on that cost to the consumer. And so the council did not approve the fuel tax increase because it'll just increase costs for all the taxpayers.
Well, we already have among the highest cost of living in the nation, highest cost of doing business.
Yes.
Overall highest taxes are close to the
I
top.
know.
And our gas tax is already the highest.
Yes, so we voted that gas tax down because it affects everyone. Those who don't drive, buy goods at the store, and those prices will go up if the fuel tax goes up.
And it also affects the bus, right?
Yes,
because
that's
the
right.
public bus, which you oversee as a city council.
That's right, and all the repair trucks. So, a tax on gasoline is not a good tax.
Yeah.
Well, no increase in any tax is not good at this stage.
Right. There's so many, I know probably in your district and certainly where I live, there's a lot of senior citizens who are retired.
I know.
And they have a hard time, just like young families, just like actually almost everybody these days are having a hard time. So
I know.
the more things go up, the more cost of goods go up. And we've seen our food prices skyrocket.
Right, and we don't want to tax anyone out of their home, so we don't want to increase property taxes, and yet, our costs keep going up, so we try to cut in areas where we can.
So one of the big cost factors is going to be repairing roads. I know the mayor wanted to, use this fuel tax to do that. But the problem with that, people should realize, at least I've seen it covering government for so many years, whether it's state or county, is that they'll raise taxes for something, and then that tax never goes to that thing they said it was going to.
Well, in the case of roads, I think the money would go into the highway fund. However, we had put in $100 million last year, and so far the city has spent about $1 million of that.
Oh my
and
gosh.
they haven't. The year before we put in $77 million, and I think they're just spending that now.
Wow.
And the mayor wants to increase that amount to $150 million. So I don't know that we're going to put that. And this is all borrowed money.
Well,
and as I just talked about the debt service, so we don't really want to borrow a lot of money.
There's only so many roads you can repair at one time, because that's part of the problem. First of all, there's only so many companies out there. Plus, how many roads can you shut down for us to all the whole island? Maybe if you tell the whole island, take a week off, don't go to anywhere, don't go to work, don't go to the store, don't go to school. And we'll
then we
do
can
the
repair
roads.
all the roads. Yeah.
But even if you did that, you probably still have not enough companies
we
and not
could
enough
not.
asphalt, right?
Exactly.
So there's only so much money realistically that you can
that
put
we
in
can
there.
do, and there are
Right.
just so many workers, and we want to repair the roads, and there's just so many other needs. I think that we should also, at the same time, repair our sewers, because in Mo'ili'ili for the past 8 years, we have not been able to add any new buildings because there's not enough sewer capacity.
So there's a building moratorium on
Yes,
that.
in that area.
Right.
And, if we built more housing, that would certainly help in our homeless problem. The more housing we have, the better. And the city gets to collect more property tax. And the construction industry will flourish if we keep putting up these buildings. However, the sewers are not up to capacity.
So there is a movement to, I can't remember now which mayor started this movement to try to build up the sewers, or if it's even working. But I could maybe
Yeah, I
maybe
know.
I could get that from you. But it's partly driven by the EPA, right? The Environmental Protection Agency, which is a federal agency, which told us that we have certain things that we have to do to our sewers, or we're going to get fined.
Right, and well, that's our wastewater system. And we're doing that, but that'll be a total cost of about $3 billion. And to repair all of our sewers, I don't know, it'll be close to that. So it's a lot of money that we have to borrow to do all these repairs.
And our borrowing is already at the highest.
Yes, it's
almost
already
the
up
highest.
to about 19%.
Right, and it's really not supposed to go past 20, right?
Right,
Yes.
but I'm afraid that it will if we have to float bonds for rail.
Right. Now let's talk a little bit about rail. You have a council right now that's 100% for rail, except for you have been the one lone voice of sanity, I should say, that's talked about other alternatives to rail, maybe buses, or you've been on the show before, and we've talked about some of the other alternatives. But right now, the rail's on hold, right? Because of a lawsuit. Yeah, and so it's supposed to start up again, supposedly, in September, unless a federal lawsuit takes effect and stops it. So what's going on in terms of expenditures? Do we have expenditures right now for the rail?
Well, we have to pay the contractors for the delay, although I've been saying that we signed the contracts too early in 2009.
Right.
And
there was
so
a big rush, a big push, to get it through.
To sign all those contracts in 2009. And because we haven't started, we have to pay these contractors for the delay, and I believe it's about $30 million. So
is that $30 million a year?
No, just for the whole delay. But we're still paying because
that's $30
we haven't
million
started.
We could have used on something else.
Exactly, like the sewers.
Right, exactly. We could fill a lot of potholes with $30 million. Huh?
We sure could.
Well, so the rail is at the point where it's on hold, but they are doing the archaeological inventory surveys on the rail.
And I believe they've just about completed them, but we were saying that, well, I was saying anyway, that did they dig deep enough or wide enough?
I've been hearing complaints about that they're actually really not digging deep enough and wide enough. Yeah, according to the families who were there watching.
Yes.
I don't know if you know this, you probably do, but there's actually the Paulette Kalikini family. She's the one that brought the lawsuit about the Native Hawaiian burials, are actually on the scene every day watching and monitoring what they're doing. So they have felt that there isn't enough exploration to make sure that they're not taking out Native Hawaiian burial sites, because they have found burial sites, but they're concerned that they're just going to pave them right over.
And I asked where the foundations are going, and they said, well, they haven't really fully decided yet on some of those foundations, so then how do they know where to dig to look for these burial sites?
Exactly. And originally we had I think it was a Department of Transportation person back a couple of years ago say, well, we can just zigzag the project.
I know.
But it's a steel rail.
I know. It's like,
it doesn't zigzag.
No, it does not.
Yeah. So just shows you we could spend hours and hours and hours on all the mistakes.
I kind of, I think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And, but I just don't want any city money to be used. So I continue to vote against floating bonds or borrowing money for the rail project.
Well, one of the big concerns was that the rail was going to take away from the bus, the handy van, take money that's needed to repair the vans, to buy new buses.
And that's been happening already. And as you know, this past year, there are big cuts to the bus service and many complaints. So fortunately, our new mayor has promised to restore all the bus service. So we're looking forward to that.
Good. We'll see that, hopefully. It's interesting, though. I know this mayor is definitely, he's like a big spender. He seems to be wanting to make everybody happy. There's only so many people you can make happy with, spending money on different things that we need to spend money on, but there's only so much money. So we'll see how many people we can really make happy.
And he's put in money for the road repair, but there's not enough money for restoring the bus service. And when I go to neighborhood boards, that seems to be the biggest concern, is when is the bus service going to be restored?
Well, especially if you can't really walk that well or walk that far, and you really rely on the bus, you don't have a car, to suddenly have your route completely taken out or changed to the point where it's not convenient, or you can't even take it, then it's
and we're trying to encourage people to use the bus. So to do that, we have to have good bus service.
And there are a lot of buses that are just packed.
Yes, because there are less buses on the road. And so in Manoa, you have to wait an hour for bus service.
And what about the handy van? That's a really important service for people who desperately need it.
We're supposed to get new handy vans. And I think there was some protest about the bids. So I think that has been settled, and we will get more handy vans, but it really is unfair to those who use that service. They have to wait maybe an hour.
Now, a lot of people go to get their car registered, like me. I have to get it registered by the end of the month. And it's amazing how much it's gone up. It's
Yes,
just
it
keeps going
has.
up and up and up.
I know.
I mean, a regular van is now about $450.
Exactly,
$450 to register a family van.
Yes, it is. All of the costs have gone up. And now we have fees for camping, and I think the building permit fees are going to go up also. And there'll be fees for the
solar
electrical.
hookups?
Yes.
I saw that.
We're going to start instituting that.
So you want to encourage solar, but not too much. Only if you pay for it.
So we are going to, because of the extra money that will be coming in, we're going to hire more electrical inspectors, because right now there's a shortage.
Okay. So in terms of the big picture, we have a lot of the union members that are going to be getting pay raises. So that's a big issue because that's always a drama. There's always negotiation, right? With all the public unions, you have the Hawaii, you have the UPW,
we have
HGA,
UPW,
and that's the United Public Workers Union, the Hawaii Government Employees Association, and then the firefighters?
Police and fire.
So those are the four for the city? And so 2 of them have settled, 2 of them haven't. Can you bring us up to date on that?
Yeah, well, the HGA has settled except for one unit, Unit 13.
Unit 13, yeah.
So we're waiting to see what will happen with that. UPW did settle. Police and fire, we're waiting to see what will happen with we kind of know what the settlement will be because it kind of matches all the other unions, but it's probably a 4% increase. And then another 4% next year, so that kind of compounds, 4% on top of the 4% this year. So we have to really have a plan as to how we're going to fund into the future, because we have to pay. We have to, it's a settlement, and we have to pay those increases.
So it's not just the increases, but it's what you're already paying in salary and benefits, plus more each year, so it keeps building and building and building.
Exactly, and so we have to have a plan as to how we're going to fund the future increases.
I know one of the big issues that I've been looking into, and we've had the budget director from the state on the show, Calbert Young, talking about the medical costs for public employees.
I know.
Because once you're a public employee and you get medical costs, your family gets medical coverage, I should say, and then when you retire, actually you have it for life along with your spouse. You have medical coverage. That's unlike the private sector, so it's very generous benefits.
It is, and I believe some of the, they've reduced it a bit since years ago, but it's still a big cost. So we have to, and that's why the legislature passed this law that the state and the counties have to put enough money into the fund to make sure we don't run out.
Because it was underfunded. It's greatly underfunded. I think, I just looked at the figures today, $300 million in the fund.
I know.
But it needs to be about 18 billion.
Yeah.
18 billion. There's 300 million in there.
So even if you put away 100 million a year, it'll take, I forgot.
100 years.
Yes.
I think that's what he said, the budget director. That's quite a bit of time. We won't be here to see that.
Yes.
I hope I don't live that long. But yeah, so the city is really important because, I mean, it covers the car registration, you know, how much your gas costs, the road conditions, the sewers.
Well, and then trash pickup.
Trash pickup.
And we have to make sure that's always done. And we don't charge for trash pickup like other cities. We have the parks and all of the maintenance of those parks and the maintenance of all the restrooms in the parks. That's a really huge cost, and we don't want to start charging people who use the parks. We do charge now for camping fees.
Well, one of the issues I noticed all over the years, and certainly it's true now, we see the bathrooms in such poor condition.
I know.
No soap, no toilet paper, and then some of the bathrooms have been closed. Like, for example, in Hawaii Kai, I think it's been 2 years. And it's going to be closed at least another year because of the sewer hookup. Right,
and broken toilets. We have a lot of broken fixtures. And, you know, people have been asking for restrooms at the transit centers. And
for
so we put
line.
in, well, just for the bus. And so we finally put one in at the Alapai Center. But, you know, that's a lot of cost. And yet we want to provide the service.
I know, it's tough because if you don't give people restrooms, I mean, it's kind of inhumane.
Yeah.
Especially me, having to go to the bathroom every hour. I have a small bladder syndrome.
Well,
but I mean, it is inhumane, you know. It's
well, at the Alapai Center, you know where that is, way off of King Street. And the last transportation director said, well, people can walk up to that Fosse Municipal Building. And I said, they'll never make it.
They'll never make it. And
then
you have to show your ID.
Through, yes, exactly.
Show your
and on
security.
weekends they're not open, in the evenings they're not open. So that wasn't a solution.
Well, just look at Chinatown. I mean, Chinatown, you have a lot of homeless people, and you can walk through Chinatown, and there's people using the bathroom on the street.
I know.
And it smells, and
I know,
just
it's
unnecessary,
awful.
just because there's not enough restrooms that for the public.
That is another problem, is the homeless. And, you know, we get many complaints about the use of the sidewalks. And I really don't promote using sidewalks as a place to live. So clearing the sidewalk, to me, is not inhumane. What we're doing is making it available for pedestrians, those who use wheelchairs, strollers. They should have the right to use a sidewalk. But it has been a problem, because where do the homeless go? And so that's why I keep pushing for more housing, especially affordable housing, workforce housing. But that, you know, of course, is a cost.
Right. So in terms of the homeless, there are homeless shelters, but like it's not really a nice place for a family to be. So
right.
housing
and they
is
do
the
have
option.
openings every day. But there are many people who don't want to go into those shelters.
That's right. And then what about in terms of the Occupy Honolulu people? We see them, and that's all a constant controversy. But there's not really that many of them, are there? There's only about,
since
15
they moved now
tents?
to in front of NBC, and you know, with graduations occurring soon at NBC, I think the city's going to put up some planters just to make it a little nicer for the graduates.
The Frank Fosse days, he would have had his bulldozer out and moving them along with him.
He would be power washing that area every day.
With them in the tent. You're right. That's actually probably what would do it. You know, he had such an interesting style of taking charge. We haven't seen that since then.
Yeah, there are critics of Frank Fosse, but yet they all respected him because he always made a decision and just did what he felt was right for the people.
And he didn't always try to make people happy.
Yeah, because he just did what was right.
Right. So in terms of this current administration, how is it going with the council? Is it a good relationship? It's kind of a new, still honeymoon stage.
Right. It seems to be, except the first thing we did was, you know,
kill the
fuel tax. And I think there wasn't enough communication on that subject beforehand. And we're trying to open up the lines of communication. It isn't always easy because the council members have, you know, their projects that they want, and the mayor, of course, has his projects. So we'll see what happens on Thursday, and then on June 5th, which is the final vote on the budget.
So it's going to be Mayor Caldwell's first year as mayor.
Yes.
And he's going to be 4 years? He is.
Yes, he has 4 years.
4 years to go. So we'll see how this all works out with the council.
Yes.
And you have a lot of turnover potentially coming on the council, because you have, if you're on the council and you run for higher office, do you have to resign?
If you're midterm, you do not. So Ikaika Anderson may run for Congress, and he would not have to resign. Stanley Chang has already declared for Congress, and he is at the end of his term, so if he doesn't win, unfortunately, he won't be back. He's a very good council member.
Oh, okay. So there's been lots of issues that have come up this year, like I'll throw out some, the big issue this year so far, one of them was smoking ban.
Yes, on the beaches.
On the beaches, but on certain beaches.
Yeah, and now there's there's legislation to have no smoking on all beaches, and which seems quite controversial.
Especially because we have a lot of tourists from Japan and Asian countries who smoke.
Yes.
And it's getting harder. I don't smoke personally, but it seems like it's getting harder and harder to find a place to smoke.
Well, you know, in Korea, at their beaches, they have an area, like a smoking area, with a machine where you can put your butts in there and not throw it in the sand. And so you can stand there and smoke and then put your butts in the machine. And That seems to work there, but I don't know if that would work here.
Seems like if they're used to it in Korea and probably maybe Japan, that's something that
maybe
would
that
work
might
here.
work,
At least it would be a place for people to be able to put out their cigarette safely,
Right.
and not have it on the beach, and not have the smoke going to everyone, so maybe provide less controversy and all
Yeah,
that.
because our beaches are very important, not only to the residents, but to the visitors.
When I go clean up the beaches, what I find are not plastic bags. I don't find plastic bags. I don't find cigarette butts, but I do find lots of plastic washing up. That's what I pick up, and sometimes glass, but mostly, mostly plastic. It's just coming in. I'm sure part of it is the tsunami
Right.
situation. Part of it is that big garbage dump in the middle of the Pacific, but along the east, the Kailua, Waimanalo, Makapu, Kaiwi, and Hawaii Kai beaches, pretty much a lot of plastic.
Well, in that Hawaii Kai area, now that you mention it, is that big controversy about do we put a food land there?
Right, hot topic.
And
Well,
that will
I'll
come
give you.
before the city soon.
Oh, okay. Well, I attended the big, hot, controversial meeting in Hawaii Kai, because that's where I live, about the food land. And boy, the way the news reported it wasn't actually what happened. It was about 400 people there, and about 4 of them were for the project, and 396 against. They actually did a count. In terms of hands up.
Right.
So there were 4 people that supported it, at least that were brave enough to raise their hand to say they supported it. And, they've had strong words for Councilmember Chang to oppose the project. So we'll see what happens.
Well,
But,
some of the legislators did surveys.
Yes, surveys and then
And-
letters to the council.
Because we were told, well, I had heard that the majority of people, they're the silent majority, and they're in favor of the project. But I did get a call from a legislator who said that he did a survey, and all the people were against. Most
Right.
of the people,
Yeah, that
majority
was
were.
Representative Gene Ward. We actually
yes,
talked to him about that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see, because you have these dueling surveys where Bishop Estate, who wants to develop the project, says there's a strong majority for it, but everybody wants a food land. It's just that people don't want it in this
There.
beautiful park that is the entrance to Hawaii Kai, and there's already so much traffic. And when you're out in the ocean, I'm a paddler, when I'm out in the ocean and I look back, you see the beautiful Hawaii
I
Kai,
see. Yes.
and no development on the front end. And so suddenly to see, a strip mall or a food land, people are concerned. Definitely the paddlers are
There must
concerned.
be another area, is there?
There
where you
should,
can-
well, we believe, in Hawaii Kai, we've talked about, there's the Kalama Valley Shopping Center people would love to go to.
Yes.
And then the other food land is really not that far away. It's
Oh,
only
the one
10
in
minutes away.
Aina.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's a nice food land. Well, there's lots of things to talk about. I wish we had an hour, because, so much to talk about. And I really appreciate your time coming on the show and telling people about the budget and how they can get involved and watch the
Yes,
council on TV, and
this
even let you
Thursday.
know what they
Right.
support.
Exactly.
All right, and you're always one of our heroes. Thank you for being such
Thank
a
you.
transparent, honest, and straightforward person, and representing your district and all of us so well.
Well, thank you for allowing me to be on your show.
All right, well, have you on again. This has been News Behind the News. Aloha.